number 2 of 2 sessions which were prepared. Yesterday we were looking very much kind of in depth on the mother symbol. We did one exercise to kind of be able to connect and just experience in ourselves how this works, no? Getting a taste of it, not just listening, but actually tasting also. So we will do the same pattern today. This PowerPoint is longer, but we will little bit go through. If I go through too fast, you can ask me to slow down. If something is unclear, we will look at the city of Oroville. Because the whole city, we look at Matrimandir, which you see at the center, but the whole city actually is of importance. So we will first see how the architectural process developed, how they came to the galaxy, what were the steps. Then we will look at the key elements of the city, and I will talk a bit about what they are representing and importance. What I'm saying comes from inspiration and insights, which definitely don't belong to me like that. But I am putting it with my level of understanding. I'm only speaking about things which I have been able to perceive inwardly and which I apply in my daily life. Doesn't mean that I'm an expert in application, because we all have our stuff, but I'm actually living with this material 24 hours kind of. Except for when I forget, which of course we do all the time. Okay, so the matrimind in the city, in essence, and descending triangle, the one which comes from above downwards, represents Satchitananda, truth, consciousness, bliss. That is coming down from above. From below is the ascending triangle, which here says represents the aspiring answer from matter under the form of light, life, light, and love. Okay? The square represents see what they say, the perfect manifestation. We also say it represents the new creation. The perfect manifestation, what is coming. The lotus represents the avatar, it's at the center. And then the water, which is inside the square, represents the multiplicity of the creation. So we go back to where we were yesterday, where we talk about there is one, and the supramental consciousness is a unity consciousness, which holds all the diversity. The consciousness, when Sri Aurobindo speaks, and I don't go deeply into this, but the overmind consciousness in the other person's shoes as if they were yours. We go in opposition all the time. The supramental consciousness does not have this. It has unity and diversity, multiplicity. It says here, no, the multiplicity of the creation. We talk about, before Oroville, human unity and unity in diversity. Those two which go together. That is that consciousness. And I spoke yesterday about the fact that we can see in the world what is happening. 1956, Mother tells us the supramental consciousness came down. A new world was born. She said a new world. Before she said a new world will be born, she said in 56, a new world is born. And then there is another aspect, which is the fact that in 1958, Mother Nature came to her and said, I will collaborate. So for me, that means that there is this thing which is happening. There is a new world coming, or is here. It is being unveiled, okay? And in us, Mother Nature is all of us, no? Our body, all this. Actually, it is supporting. So we are being supported from inside, from around, from above in this. It's a totally amazing situation we are in. And we look from 56, 58, what is happening in the world? What are the changes? What are the movements that come? And we will see that those movements which we perceive that are inclusive, holding, where people can walk with it irrespective of group or caste or color or religion. This is the supramental which is working. That is that force working everywhere. Doesn't need a label. We see it happening in ways which it has not been doing before to this extent. So this is Sri Aurobindo's symbol. I want you just to look at them and you so much we are focusing on mother symbol in the Auroville context, but it's always a play between the two. Sometimes it is like, oh, do I go to mother? Do I turn to Sri Aurobindo? And Sri Aurobindo says it is the same. The time when you can see the two as one, then you can really see it. There is no difference if it's mother and Sri Aurobindo. That's also part of the whole change which will come with the body and all these things. Take the next one. So when this came up somewhere, mother had been through her life, this had been there. In 1912, she was working with a group in France. Then the ashram came. From, I think it's 24, the ashram was founded. And all the time, how do you kind of collectively work with this? How do you work with a group of people for change? So ashram was there. I think ashram grew up to some 3,000 people or something. She had a thing already in the 40s of building a city. There was a piece of land, a hill, that was given in Hyderabad. And then for different reasons, it didn't happen. So I think it's around 64, when the idea comes up in Sri Aurobindo Society that there are a lot of devotees which are not ashramites, but they would like to live in the vicinity. So how about starting a small township where they can buy houses and live close to the ashram? So that is the first what I know of on that practical level, okay? Now, when mother takes that up, gives okay and start to look, this develops to Auroville. There is a movement which happens, and I think you might see in your own lives also, that something comes up, something happens. We are looking for a flat like anything. I really need a place to stay, okay? And then somebody says, oh, there is a place there, and you get very happy. 2-3 days till you're going to visit, you're very happy because of that, okay? Then you go there, it didn't happen. Okay? So you feel maybe that it's a failure, but actually for 3 days you were very happy when you were very unhappy before. And you don't know what will happen. Everything is in movement and change, no? So there we can see Auroville also at that thing. Somebody came up with an idea. It creates a movement. It is not the thing, but it is just a wave which is coming. And then time and everything which has happened, things move, no? So she had, mother's granddaughter was, I'd married a partner with this architect in France, very established, done a lot of building in France and in other places also. I think one of actually the great architects of this time. So mother asked him, she met him and she felt, this is my man, okay, for this. So she asked him if he would take it up. He said yes. So she did this drawing for him, what she had just as a third kind of, what you call it, brief for the city. Is this drawing here. 4 zones, cultural, industrial, international, and residential. And then you have these nodes here on the corners, which I guess have to do with services and things like this in the city. So this was what she gave him as a kind of a brief. Now let's go and see what they did with that. Next one. So when he came back, he brought 2 models with him. This is one of a rectangular city. You can see here, rejected by mother. Not looking at this one, no interest in this. We will just pass it by. Go to the next one. Can you click? Next, yes. So here is what was called the nebula model. She said, yeah, this looked good. You work on this. I'm putting the words in her mouth now. So, but this you continue with. And you can see when you look at these ones, it is radiating straight out from a center. You already have the center with the Matrimandir and the lake. Matrimandir is still not verbalized at this time, okay? But you can see that the center is there. The peace area is already here in the very first step. We see these ones. Now let's go to the next one. Here you see, this belongs to those 3 other drawings. Here you see the density in 2 directions and the openness in the other 2. This is also there in the first model. These 2 things stay throughout. They go all the way. So they're already there. She says to him, you go back, you work on it. Okay. She says, I'm putting my force on you. She talks about Rocher, that he is very receptive tool. So she is behind him all the time, but he is the one who is the architect and is doing the drawings. Next one. So now he starts to work towards something because suddenly he comes with a movement. The other one has a radiating straight out. Now you see we come with something which is a little bit of yin and yang. This is the megastructure. So you can see they have worked pretty detailed on it. Here they go into the placing down there on the coastal area, etc. Go to the next one. Here you have the drawings of the megastructure. These drawings he brings to Mother. This looks pretty much like a, a done deal sort of. Mother says, It's okay, but it's not there. You continue to work. So he, from this, and you can see they have put a lot of work in. He has 150 people working with him in his studio or whatever in Paris. No? So this is, again, it is not rejected like the first one was rejected, but it's definitely not there. So he goes back. This takes place over a couple of years, all this work. No? Next one. Now you can see he's looking for, he's an artist also. He's looking for the energy. I don't know, those of you who paint, if you don't do the kind of drawing very fine, there is a time when you really need to take out the swing because you're looking for something and you're not quite catching it, and how will you get it, okay? For me, that is what I see here. He's searching, very, very clear. You see, something is coming up. Now we start to get the spiral movement of the galaxy here. And some of them are just like, drawings on some paper he finds or somebody else finds. Next one. So now the galaxy is emerging. You can see how the density is kept. You can also see how now the circular movement of the crown is there. The radials are coming in, and you have these driving movements, which I think is what later becomes the lines of force that we will look at also. Next one. This is the clay model. So you can see there is again looking through a different media using clay. How is this energy? How is it moving? What is happening? It's really a force that is coming. It's not just a sketching anymore. It's trying to find something which we are searching for. Next one. So here you have the galaxy now, pretty much with the lines of force, with the radials. The Olympic Stadium is in place on them. The open spaces for the international and cultural zone, and the great density in the residential and the industrial. And we also have the lines of force you see here. I should maybe have had a stick to show, but I will just walk up like that. These are the lines of force. They are mega. This is in the residential zone, and here you have them in the industrial zone. In the industrial zone, they go from ground and they go upwards. So at the inside, they are the highest. On this side, they are low on the inside and they go up. This one goes up to 18 stories. Very dense living. The longest line of force there, you have about, it was first 9,000, we talk about 8,000 people. We live in this it's not just one building, but these buildings together. Now, what is that? No, we look at it. Next one. This is all about the zoning, orientation, all these things. There was a big research which was done. It was not something which was, we have been so-called organic for a long time now, but this was really work in detail. I have this booklet lying here, this orange one, which is a copy of the original, which was done between 68 and 71. I don't have the exact year, no. There you will see it's the first master plan. It has absolutely details of the things in the city, how it was to be. We take the next one. Yeah, no, maybe we go back. No, up, yeah, here. So you can see here also what is important. I can use this one. You can see the mobility network. In 65 already, Mother says very clearly, there is not to be car traffic the way we have it in the cities. In 65, she says this. Inside the city, only pedestrian, cycling, and electrical vehicles. Small collective electrical vehicles which move around. The city should be walkable and movable from any place with that kind of transport. She says 15 kilometers per hour. I have to laugh at that because I think living in Oroville for this 40 plus years, I think that will be one of our biggest challenges because we are shooting around on our motorbikes exactly like you do anywhere else. And I think myself that because I've been looking at it, how the hell will we drive in 15, I try, it's like I'm not getting anywhere, no? But the fact is, I think that actually when we slow down, relaxation, whatever, we are not running from place to place. There is a harmony in what we are doing. It is one more tool to help us in our balance, equanimity, and growth. I feel when you look at these things, you see things, we can live so close together, all this. But then when you look deeper and you see what is the transcendence of that, what is the effect? What does that mean for society, for children, for old people, for everybody who belongs in society? If we shift this, it actually enables in a different way. So it's not about me, it's about us, no? But in a way which gives harmony for everybody. So this is about the wind directions and all these things. Next one. So here we have the galaxy. This is the model which was used for the inauguration of Oroville in 1968, 28th of February. This was placed there for everybody to see. And you see the details, you see the matrimandir, you see the, the amphitheater. Yeah, and maybe I should take that afterwards. But you see, here you can see how the line of force in the industrial zone goes up towards the center. Here they go like this. It's very interesting with the planning of this city when you start to understand what is there. Okay. This is the peace area. Maybe I'm jumping a bit ahead, but then I will just go back again now. This is the peace area. Matri Mandir, petals, gardens, and the lake is coming here. Here you see the lake a bit like that in between. Then, what parts of the city are closest? This is the peace area. What parts are closest to the center, to the peace, to the soul? Because we call Matri Mandir the soul of the city. On this side here, you have the schools for the children. The cultural zone is not for schools. We have built school there because we didn't understand better, no? But actually, the schools are sitting here. The children, in their development, okay, are sitting closest to the Matri Mandir. Okay. On the other side, we have here, okay, that is the organization, the governance sits there. So that whole side, which has been political before, full of, I don't know, all kind of stuff, the way it is today, is actually held very, very close. Always through the windows, you see the Matri Mandir. It's just right on the outside of the lake, okay? Behind here, I think it's actually this line somehow. because that is, yeah, here comes the crown. But in this here, you have the vocational training. So this is the youth. These are the people, the training for the people who will build the city, maintain the city, support the city. These are the ones which are the closest to the matrimandia. This is something we have to take, for me, very, very seriously and understand deeply how this is set up and what is it behind and what does that mean, what is behind. What is the impact that will come from this? This is an outcome. Building this city is an outcome, but the impact, which is together with the consciousness that comes down and that we work on individually, with the collective space that we are living and working in, that has an impact. And we want an impact which is human unity, unity and diversity, peace, etc. Love, harmony, all of these things. All of these, as I understand it, are elements which are consciously working towards this. I think we go to the next one, because otherwise I go. So this is from the inauguration. You can see here 5,000 people came. You can see the galaxy plan there standing. Okay. At this time also, the charter was read out and the invitation to Auroville in many languages. Can we take the next one? Yes. So now I just want to bring attention to Auroville's symbol. The dot at the center represents unity, the supreme. So we come back to unity. That is at the center every time, okay? The inner circle represents the creation and the conception of the city. And these 5 petals represents the power of expression and realization. And we often, because numbers somehow at a certain point become both interesting and important to understand what numbers are. You know, you see in Mother's symbol there are 4 petals. Mother doesn't say expression, this is this zone, this is that zone, this is this kind of work, that is this kind of work. She doesn't speak like that. She puts this, okay? It's for exploration and it's for widening and deepening, okay? In his book on the mother, Sri Aurobindo goes into detail about the 4 aspects of the mother. When he has done that, then he says there is a 5th aspect, the aspect of bliss. It can only come down when the other 4 are fully established. So for me, when I see this, I also see these 5 aspects established. Okay? But it is not one or the other, because each thing goes through and symbolizes in so many ways, no? And picks up different fields, maybe, where action is. Okay? We leave Auroville symbol here. Now we go to next. Yes. So again, now we go into what are we working with now. This we saw all the planning, all what was coming up till in 68, 71, what was ready at that time. This is going to be, Auroville is going to be built. Mother says, build it in 5 years. They say, Mother, we can't manage that. Okay, 10 years. That is how long ago? 60 years ago or what? Something, no? What? 50. Okay. So, just to give some perspective on that, what we have been doing, good things, some things we have done, but we have been not actually putting everything maybe to it. Let's see the next one. So, first we have the matrimandir at the center. The gardens, the petals, etc. I'm not going to go into it because it gets very long. You have the banyan tree. The banyan tree is the geographical center of Auroville. So when we do the crown road and all these things, where we measure from in the surveys is the banyan tree, not the soul. Okay. So Banyan tree is maybe the center, like the heart in a way. It's always like a home for us when you sit under the banyan tree. It holds us really, really nurturing. Matre Mandir is that other space. Go to the next one. So here are the gardens and the lake. And I don't know, those of you who have been to Matre Mandir, have you gone to look at the digging for the lake? No. So the lake is being dug now. It is 10 meters deep, has a certain width. I don't know how big it is. And actually, we had been building one sector, and then the second sector, it would be built in sectors. Presently, it seems like they will just build it through. And the intention is to have this lake ready by 2028 for Mother's 150th anniversary. That is the intention of the people who do this work, to have it ready. It's amazing. There has been a lot, because it could have been built maybe long ago also. But we have had a lot of discussions. Is it ecological? Mother said there should be a lake, and it is also to store water and like that. So we have had lots of ecological discussions and others back and forth, and it's never good enough, sort of. Actually, we saw that the first part of the lake was within 1 year filled to the top with rainwater. It will go down during the summer, but with the rainwater. We do not fill the lake with anything but rainwater. And that rainwater was only collected from within the gardens. So we have no doubt that we will be able to do this. And there is also more experiments with water. There's looking, can we store it actually in the aquifer itself, below also the water, because we get surplus during the monsoon. And just like we have over all the years from Orville's initiation practically, been working on bunding, been working on how to keep the water going into the soil instead of going straight out into the ocean. So we keep on looking for ways to do, because it is not only us, it's the bioregion also. We need to shift things with consciousness and in the practical. Next one. So the lake. So here are some pictures. Here you can see from above here. This is the first part of the lake where they made dams here. Then this is the second part, which goes up to here. This dam broke in the last monsoon, and that was what made them shift over. No, let's do the whole thing in one go. But you can see the lake has actually, here you see it, now it is there. This is kind of summer. During monsoon, it was up, full, overflowing like waterfalls everywhere. So, yes. Next one. These are the radials. I spoke a bit about the mobility. So the mobility is such that you will have, you hear about the crown and you see we are building this road. So the crown, actually, this is confusing for many, because in the model, this is the crown, okay? You don't see any road here. People say there is no road. It's buildings, sort of, in a circle, no. Actually, the road, if you look at the mobility drawings, you can look in this one, which is from that time, the roads are there. The crown is there as a mobility network, but the crown is all what is happening here. Now we are so focused on this road. This road is just a means of transportation and movement. What comes together is that this is a hub of activity. This is Orville's hub of activity. It's coming like this here. That is the crown. Some elements will go inside, like the lines of force. Several of them cross over on that side also. So this is we talked, I think, enough about the mobility. We can take the next one. Yeah, again, pedestrian city. Okay, this is the research which was done, 68, 2003, 2005, 2015. And you have here the mobility networks with the roads. The roads have to be in a certain way, because ambulance and fire brigade has to be able to come to places, to reach everywhere, literally. But then there's a lot of cycle networks, cycle paths, and walking things and like that. And you have green inside everywhere. So it should be very shady everywhere you work, because for us, the sun is actually a challenge. No, we need shade. Next one. Yeah, again, the crown and the circulation network. So here you can see the city. So you see, the city is actually very small. We kind of always include Greenbelt and everything. But if you go on the road, now I use names, I don't know all of you know, but if you go on the road which goes to Certitude, you will have suddenly, if you come from the center, a paved road going to the right there. Suddenly, out of nowhere, there's a bit of you're going a very bad mud road, and then there is this road. That is the outer ring road. The city sits between that one and Matrimandir. It's not so big. It's actually very small. So it's good to see it because it gives a kind of indication. 50,000 people are going to live inside here. How will they live in this place? How will it be? What are the ways to make this into something brilliant? Next one. So the 4 zones. Yeah, I talked a bit about that. So the 4 zones in the first one you showed, they were kind of turned around. So today we have basically the industrial zone, the international zone where we are now, the cultural zone, and the residential zone, which is the biggest one. And it's pretty obvious. So the cultural zone is it is not for schools, okay? It's more like, I don't know how to say because maybe we don't even have the full vision of it, but it's more like institutions, it's ways where culture really is expressed and interactive somehow on a very different scale than what we look at things today. An international zone is, of course, for the International Cultural Pavilion. So both of these zones are related to culture directly. Yeah. Now, I want to say something about this because I myself never understood this drawing. It's in that book. I would usually flip it because I didn't understand what it was, the point, sort of. Basically, when they were going to start the town, they were going to start it from 2 points. People were not supposed to move in here. There was a big plan for what is the Oromodel area, which is a villa area today, to be a dense area for experimenting the kind of living situations we would develop, no? And they wanted to start to develop the city from the international zone and the cultural zone. This seems extremely impractical when you look at it from a normal angle, no? Of course you will build the homes and the workplaces. That is how we build. That is natural functioning, no? Now, when we look at this today, you can look at it very, very differently, okay? Culture, poetry, music, art, all of this lifts us up, no? Can we all agree on that? It's uplifting. It brings us out of ourself and our smallness. This place, which is home, house, land, family, clan, whatever. This is a safe kind of place, and it has ownership and possession. The whole story of life we have right here, okay? All the things which are difficult. Yes, there are happy things. And yes, there might be art which is ugly also, you know. But just as principles, this is a place where we hold on and of attachments, strong place of attachments, okay? Art brings us out of that space of ourselves. This brings us to concerns and fears, okay? Industrial zone, money, that kind of development. Same story. It is super heavy space. Soon as we touch money, Mother said, money should no more be the sovereign lord. You know, very difficult, easy to say, not so easy in life. I need more, how do I get more? What do we pay labor? We have a whole range and scale which sits right here. Developing these ones lifts us. Developing these two actually is needed, but in a totally different way than what we have now, because it actually has to serve a different impact. And we build it totally in what seems good to us. Preferably I have a house and I have a garden, which is mine. No? Then I will fence it a bit. My dogs needs it fenced in, you see, because otherwise it will be disturbing, and I need my protection. And anyway, I need to go out in the grass every day because that is so healthy, and I want my children to have that. If we are going to live like that, we will turn out to be an expat society with Indians in it also. But for the world, is it an example? No. To me, it isn't. I live in India. I read a newspaper every day. Okay. Few days ago, I think it was 5 elephants that were killed in one crash. 5 of them. How many elephants do we have? Are we trying to protect them? Are we trying to protect the tigers? Animals need territory. It's in their system. We don't. We have things in our system. We still have animal part of our nature, but we have very different systems that animals have. We are the most adaptable species. Okay? We are the most invasive species. We literally eat our own. Literally like that. Look what we have done. What happened when we went to the Americas, so-called found them, whatever? What is everywhere? What are these wars about? We don't mind to kill people if we get right and we get what we need. We have to see it's not to be depressed about, because we have all this light and all this capacity. We are adaptable. Animals, most of them, the more special they are, the least adaptable they are. They need a smaller environment or a specific environment. If we are going to have a house and a garden each, and a little bit bigger house and garden when we have a bit more money, okay, it eats up like this. And not only that, we need poor people. Poor people, we must have poor people, because we need to have people who take care of this for us. If I am working, okay, and we see work very much as a fulfillment of expression of ourselves, for women and men today, then somebody else needs to do the work. And we need to have all the machinery in each house. It's not sustainable. We have to, I read somebody, I wish I could quote it perfectly, somebody who said something like, maybe we can't go on looking about what is best for us, but what is best. Yesterday when we talked about this integrity line of Mahakali, truth, consciousness, and love, and Mahasaraswati, organization, order towards perfection, the petal of goodness, the garden of life. How does it look if you look according to that line? What is it we have to do? And because we are so adaptable, we can do anything with anything. You can take an old sweater, unravel it, and knit a new one, no? We can do this. So how do we create the living spaces which are so condensed that basically we can recycle all the water? We can have the energy which feeds everybody to what they need. And we make our spaces so beautiful and our collective spaces so useful that we are happy in this. And we don't need anybody to serve us because it is set up and we still have space and there is still quiet space and everybody can find a space where they fit. What is that? Yeah. So you see, it is from that angle that the architects have to look when they look at the lines of force. And we really, oh, is it something maybe with those turbines? No. We have to look here. How do we build this? How do we go back now? For me, when I was looking at this, finally looking at it after years, no, I thought about the bumblebee. That was what came to me first. You are aware that a bumblebee scientifically and aerodynamically cannot fly. You know that that is kind of scientifically proved. that it doesn't work. It has these little wings, okay? And then it has this big upper and big lower body, okay? Do bumblebees fly? Yeah, they do. They're actually very good. They do a lot of pollination. They are great beings. No, seems you can even have a personal relationship with the bumblebee. Okay, so this is literally like that. This is a huge. I don't know what we call this. Tamas, Raja, Sattva, all in a mixed pot. These ones, they are sitting with the big problems of the world. This is what lifts us. Those wings are what enable us to fly. And we need to really look at that. We need to understand that. It's very, very important. Art, music, poetry is the main medium for transcendence. This line we just got a few days ago. Somebody read it out here and it was like, this is what we are talking about. They are the main medium for transcendence. You look at the ashram, what focus was there on the disciples? Poetry, writing, music, theater, dance, art, painting. This was encouraged to a great extent. There is this one story, usually used when I talk about economics, but actually here it goes the other way. They had something called prosperity. It was the system taking care of people. So the prosperity was very basic. Soap, toothpaste, this much clothing, whatever. So you filled up a little list, what you needed for a month, a little bit of pocket money. Somebody at one point asked for an extra matchbox. This little box with matches, a little bit old-fashioned, no? Huh? Somebody asked for one like that. How much could it cost in those days? Not even 10 paisa, no? Huh? Another person asked for a piano. The person who asked for the piano was given the piano. The person who asked for the matchbox was asked to be more conscious in her use of the matches and keeping them, etc. That was the level of working. To that, I have to tell that we were once talking with Tara Didi, who is the head of the Delhi Sri Aurobindo Ashram, and who grew up very, very close with Mother. And we were talking about economy one day. And we were kind of moaning a bit about Auroville's difficulties in the past. And she said, but we went through that in the ashram also in the 50s after Sri Aurobindo had left. No? And then it came up that ashram is very balanced financially today. Okay, so she said, yes, when Mother was there was never any money. Okay, after they organized it. So then you think, oh, is this something on some occult level? What is this? And then she said, but don't you understand? She was our mother. She was our mother. And she looked after us like that. So I'm a mother, and I know when your children ask for something, you always try to give it, no? But you also want them to grow in their own being, no? So it's not like you just throw things at them, but when they really need something, you want to do it. So she said that she was like, that was how it was. There was never money left. She never kept a bank account. She never kept this thing. She used it as it was needed and how it could stretch. We were her children. An amazing, amazing experience to have like that, truly and really. Okay, next one. So here we look a bit about, because we have a lot of talk about the greenery and like that. Auroville in the master plan is 50%, about 45% built up area. It's not a concrete mat which is laid out. It's sometimes you read 50%, sometimes you read 55%, okay? Green. Parks, greenery. It's a very green city. And then on top of that, it has the green belt. And the green belt is green areas, which means trees, what we have been calling forests, but we don't call it like that anymore, okay? Farms, recreation. Some things will have to be placed in the green belt, like water treatment plant. And I know in Sweden that usually turns into a jogging and green area also. So I wanted to say that Orwell's master plan area comprises 4,849 acres. It's approximately 20 square kilometers. Out of that, the city area is about 5 square kilometers. 45% of that is built up and 55% parks and green areas. And then the city is surrounded by the green belt, which is 15 square kilometers. So basically, I can't process it here, but it is a very, very, very green city. And we have had a lot of tree plantation inside the city, which was supposed to go when the roads, etc., and buildings came. There's a big struggle because there are people who feel that no, it should be staying green. It should not be any building in these places. So that is the struggle we have been going through. But throughout this city has a 15 square kilometer green belt, and 55% inside is parks and green. Good to have perspectives on this when the narratives comes flying. Can we take the next one? So I wanted to say a few words about the lines of force, because this is, for me, very, very important. The lines of force in the residential zone, what we are looking at here, they are very condensed living. But you see, it's also very open. It is not like one bunker. It's very open, very high. It also works with something called a hillscape. So while you have a high rise, you actually build from the sides. So it's like with the mountain. If you come to a wall like this, it's very scary to climb up. But when it is like this, it's no problem. You can live and move in it. It is natural for us to climb upwards or downwards, but not when it is steep, no? So here you see different patterns. We have a whole small exhibition outside on that wall, on that side, no? Where you see a bit how they want to, playing with, how can you place, how can you make this open and light at the same time as you actually build this density. So I think it is around for single persons, somewhere between 35 and 40 square meters. For couples, it goes from that, and I think, I'm not sure if it's up to 70. And then with families, you have a bit bigger. But you have basically your living space, and then facilities are all collective and all built in such a way. I am very strong on this because I have lived in a place in Sweden which was just 2 stories and it was spread out. But to see how you build creates a very, very different take on what is happening with people. Very, very big difference, okay? And I think that one of the things which I could observe in that place, which we don't think about, but is very important, normally in high rise, okay, we have the flats. There is a door to a stairwell. Okay, each one has their door. And then it is basically more or less public right outside your door. In the traditional setting, most places, even Sweden, which has such a cold climate, had this in the villages. You had a veranda on the front. In Tamil Nadu, it is built in usually. We had it built onto the house, no? That veranda, somebody is passing, they don't walk up on the veranda. It would not enter our mind to go up or in on the veranda and sit down and rest. No, we look for a public place for that, okay? If you sit on that veranda, you communicate. You see what is happening. Kids are playing on the road that goes through the village. We look a little bit backwards in time now, okay? You talk, you can invite somebody to sit with you there. Sit and talk, have a cup of tea, whatever. This is a semi-private space. It's not private, you're visible, but it's semi-private. And there is a natural instinct in us of distances with things. You know, when you're in a bus, you can be very pressed up, or in a train. But normally, if the same people would be in this area, everybody would take a little distance to the other one. We feel what is the distance. I had one teacher who, in dealing with children who were fighting about something because one child wanted the other child to do something and the other child was crying, very pressed against the wall. So she sits down with them Okay, and then she asked first, what is it? And finally, this little boy managed to squeeze out, I don't want to play. Okay, and the girl is sitting there who really wants to, he should be in this game, no? So she says to him, you do like this, and you say to Viola, huh? I don't want to play. This is your private space. It's natural to us. We go like this. Somebody pushes against us. We go like this. This is your space. Okay? Okay. Third time. No, you say it. I don't want to play. Okay. Viola, did you hear what he said? Yes. You know, it is, we need to understand space because maybe like the animals have their territories, we have an ambience with our bodies, no? But I know that living in 35 square meters is absolutely fine. It's no problem at all. Even smaller is no problem at all. When you have the resources, but it has to be done if we want to have harmony and we want to have interrelation, we need to create the levels of spacing. So you have a semi-private space. Then you have a community space. You have a collective space for the people who live there. In that collective space, on occasion, somebody will move through. But then you have the public space. So you need steps between them. How do we do this in high rise? How do we do it? How do we create that? Not a fence and a step from your door, but actually, so it is that invitation, but it is absolutely this. It doesn't help if we put the big veranda in front where everybody walk. It will not change the fact because we have some measures like this. These are things which we have to start to research much more. It's done in some places in the world. Today we have a few very top architect firms in the world who are working on the hillscape also. Rocher was doing it already at this time, looking at all these things now. So these are all, they are all part and parcel of the plan. It is not something which is like we have to invent in a way, but we need to research it. And we need to understand why we need to build like this. Because if we're going to be an example for the world, we need to do some things which actually is useful for the problems which are there. Next one. Yeah, this is about the hillscape again, but I think I have talked about that already. So we can go to the next one. Next image. Yes. So now this is again back to the master plan. So can we go up? Next one. Yes. So I wanted to point out a few things. The Matri Mandir, the dimension of the Matri Mandir is such that actually Sri Aurobindo's symbol in this oval is sitting exactly. I was not aware of that. There was a person who had known Rocher and who told me. Not only that, but the oval island here, this oval, also holds Sri Aurobindo's symbol like that. Some things which are hidden inside, which somehow we get to know a little bit now, no? And again, you have the Sri Aurobindo symbol. Now go up. Yes. So you see, maybe it's half a year ago now, 7, 8 months maybe. I had been asked to take up and look at the naming of the radials. What would be appropriate names for these roads? And because of this work I do with the 12 qualities and all of that, I was asked to look at it because they thought first that, oh, it will come from the Matri Mandir. But that's not how it works because actually the radials comes from the system, from the, how do you say, the lines between the petals. They don't come from the petals, no. So I've been sitting working on it, and I was working with Lakshay, who may be left now. He was here a little while ago. And I have been doing a main body of the work, and then I called him to come and look at it together with me because I need some confirmation. Is it okay? And like that, no? So we come, and Lakshay has a very fast mind. So he immediately says, oh, yeah, but you know this and this and this and this one and this one. And then we can take Sri Aurobindo's symbol here, sort of. I felt myself get a little bit defensive. I had done the work. I was feeling actually satisfied with it. And suddenly he came and he was throwing everything around. So not a discussion, but it was like left there. He talked about Sri Aurobindo symbol. He talked about the names given by Mother. Okay. Oh, there he is. Hi, Lakshay. So when Lakshay had gone, I actually sat down to look at myself. Why did I get irritated? Was it my ego trip that he was poking on something which I now had finished? Was that because then I really have to look at it, Or what was it? So trying to deal with this in myself, I was sitting and then I thought, because we had talked about the green belt and he had talked about dividing the green belt into areas with names also. So I work with Town Development Council, so I have my maps and things. So I sat down to look at my maps. I wanted to find a map which had a green belt marked on it, and I found this one. A little bit crappy map, but it has the city and the green belt. And then I was sitting there and thinking, can one divide this which somehow? So I drew, as you see here, Sri Aurobindo's symbol on it. And I was... You know that picture of Da Vinci's with the man in the circle and the square? I felt I was looking at that. I did not dare hardly to touch it. I was so amazed. Look, the city sits exactly inside. This is not manipulated. It came out like that. You put the star, the triangles, inside. Now, this is the old symbol of Sri Aurobindo, the first one. Then it was adjusted. Mother changed it because this didn't give a perfect square. So this one has the perfect square. But this was the one I drew because I was just drawing it. And I saw this and it was like, what is that? How can it fit exactly like this? And then I showed it to some people, and people were like, oh, wow, that's amazing. What is this? But I knew that this was not the symbol which was being used today. It had been shifted, no. This symbol is from the 30s or something like that, no. So it took me a week or more before I dared to try it. I was sitting with the person. I said to the person, take from internet an image where you have the city and the green belt in proportion. I said, now you take an image of Sri Aurobindo's symbol, you superimpose it. I hardly wanted to look. But you know what? Exactly the same happened. Not exactly here, because it doesn't go down, but the city is held within Sri Aurobindo's symbol. The lotus literally comes on top of the Matrimandir. This is the new creation. This is the multiplicity of what is happening. This is on top. It was so, and it shows for me again and again, it's held. It's one held in the other, one held in the other. This is absolutely something amazing what we are working with. It is like that. I couldn't even believe that it was. When I saw it, I didn't know where I was, this planet or somewhere else, no? But actually it is like that. They go inside each other all the time. It is one. And this is a very, very, very clear, for me, indication about what is Auroville and what is the enormous importance of Auroville. Mother said it's the cradle of the Superman. She said it's the new world. She said Auroville would be the, how do you say it, stop wars. Maybe this was what I made Auroville for, to stop the Third World War, She said these things, and we kind of superficialize it often, you see, but really this is absolutely what is happening here. It's something absolutely amazing and totally alive and all our difficulties are just the steps for us, because she also said, maybe you think that you were chosen to be here because you're so great, but maybe you're chosen to be here because you carry all the difficulties, or not all, you carry some of the difficulties of humanity which need to be changed. How can we change the world if we are not changing ourselves? This is a laboratory for that, for the change. And the material city and the consciousness, those things are working together. The city has a meaning. These buildings, the way it's happened, it's absolutely important. It's not that one thing is important and not the other. One will build the other. No, both have to happen at the same time. Is there more? Yeah. This comes from looking at, I see I can read it maybe. Mother talks in 1912 with this group she's working with in Paris about different numbers, 3, 7, and 12. That is the first time we see her talk about the 12, as the 12 qualities, no? Huh? And then she says the 7 attributes refer to the 7 creations mentioned in occult traditions, wherein the present, the 7th, is the creation of equilibrium. And it is the last one. In other words, there will now be a perpetual progress and no pralaya, no destruction of the world, no? Taking the world, and no pralaya taking the world back to its origins. Okay? And then she says about the 12 qualities, they are the means by which the world must realize a perfect equilibrium. So she says, this is the world creation of equilibrium. Those 12 qualities have to do that. And these are the tools that we work with, no? Must realize a perfect equilibrium of all its elements. And it's worth noting that life, light, and love, the 3 modes, forming the ascending triangle in Sri Aurobindo's symbol, and the 12 outer petals in the mother symbol, represents those 12 essential qualities. So we have it there. And this is just because the exercise we will be doing is working with the chakras, okay? And here you can see that when you have it, you can see we have 7 circles. We have the Matrimandir, we have the petals, we have the gardens, we have the lake, we have the crown, we have the 4 zones of the city, and we have the green belt. So it's basically, we can relate those ones also to our chakras for our own interest, no? Green belt being the physical, nourishing, etc., no? And Matrimandi, where the light first comes down in our top chakra. Next one. Yeah, this is about the Paris thing. And this was what she had. It is in 1912, what Mother had written down for this group she worked with. So the general aim to be attained is the advent of a progressive universal harmony. The means for attaining this aim in regard to the earth is the realization of human unity through the awakening in all and the manifestation by all of the inner divinity, which is one. In other words, to create unity by founding the kingdom of God, which is within us all. This, therefore, is the most useful work to be done. 1, for each individually to be conscious in himself of the divine presence and identify himself with it. 2, to individualize the states of being that were never till now conscious in man, and by that to put the earth in connection with one or more of the fountains of universal force which are still sealed to it. This is what is happening in 56, no? 3, to speak again to the world, the eternal word, under a new form adapted to the present mentality. It will be synthesized, it will be the synthesis of all human knowledge. 4, collectively to establish an ideal society in a propitious spot for the flowering of the new race, the race of the sons of God. This is the supermind, no? And she said there, because she didn't know Sri Aurobindo at that time. I didn't know Sri Aurobindo at that time, and he had not written anything yet. They were both working on this thing, no? Yeah. It was the whole program of what Sri Aurobindo has done and the method of doing work on earth, and I had foreseen this in 1912. I met Sri Aurobindo for the first time in 1914, that's 2 years later, and I had already made the whole program. Next one. Yeah. So we come back where we ended yesterday. Truth of thought creates truth of vision. And truth of vision forms in us truth of being. And out of truth of being, Satyam, flows naturally truth of emotion, will, and action. Secret of the Veda. So that was a bit longer than yesterday. I hope it's okay.